Good morning,
Unless you want
everybody.
me to take this down.
Yeah,
Oh, excuse me.
good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Disney Antiquities and Collectibles. As always, I'm with my special co-host Matt McKim. How you
Hello,
doing, Matty?
hello.
And today, our amazing guest. If you watched the fireworks from 1983 to 2005 at Disneyland, you saw this young lady perform, and her average shift time was 27 seconds. So again, welcome Gina Rock. Gina, how you doing today?
Hello, Gina.
That's funny, 27 seconds. Well, anywhere from 24 seconds to about 30, but I guess we can get into that. Yes, thank you very much for inviting me. It's so much fun to go back and revisit my days at Disney. And funny how, folks like to talk about it, they like to revisit it. I've done several podcasts and
Special co-host Matt McKim.
it's
Oh,
so much fun.
Did when so you started out in the circus. You worked for Ringling Brothers. What I mean, were you a gymnast by nature? Is that how you started out as a little girl and it just kind of evolved?
So, mom was very artsy, very much into museums and theater. And I believe, when she had her kids, she really gave us an opening to the arts. And my sister, to this day, is an artist.
hmm.
Uh-huh.
My brother, who passed in December, he was
Oh,
a cellist.
well,
And I was I was put in ballet at the age of 5, and mom was hoping that one of us would become not only really proficient but professional. She wanted my brother to be in the symphony, and she wanted my sister to produce art that would end up in some huge museum. And she didn't really get what she wanted,
ah,
except when I finally took my career all the way to the Disney level. She never said she was really proud, but I think, she was proud of what I did.
oh,
And
absolutely. I'm sure
Yeah.
she was.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
it was I don't think she thought I would ever last in the circus, because I would when I left for the circus, I was barely 18, and I had
Wow.
joined a shrine circus with an act with a father and 2 boys, and that terrified her, rightfully so.
At 18.
Yes, I was really young, and then I went on to Ringling Brothers shortly after that. I traveled for the auditions with a clown. There was a clown that knew the Ringling Brothers auditions were about 250 miles away from Texas at the time.
Oh, wow.
And he took me there, and I had already been trained in aerial ballet and flying trapeze and working out in Bob Yerke's backyard, the very famous stuntman. And
Hmm.
he taught many people in the circus. In fact, he just won this huge award. And he found me, basically. And so it all started really with mom putting me in ballet at the age of 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you did you ever go to the circuses when you were little? I mean, was there any
No. Oh,
spark
no.
there? No.
No, mom didn't really take us to the circus. She took us more to the ballet, the museums, to the symphony.
Gotcha.
So mom was born in Queens, and my dad
Okay.
was born in Long Island, and my grandmother was very much into culture.
Ah,
So my mom and her sister were raised into that culture. So and she handed it down to her kids, which was wonderful. I mean, to this day,
sure.
I love museums, I love theater, I love symphony. So yeah, the exposure that my mom gave us was wonderful. It's a lifetime of
Sure.
Yeah,
memories. So,
it's in your soul. It's definitely in your soul.
well,
So
joining the circus was definitely not part of what she thought I should do. So
so
what I like to tell people with this story, my dad was a nuclear physicist
Wow.
and worked for Lockheed Martin. He went to the Navy, which is how he ended up from Long Island to
ah,
San Diego. He met my mother in New York and they married and he went to San Diego. So my brother was born in Georgia, my sister New Mexico, and I am a native of California.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's how that all started. And yeah, it's quite a story. Uh,
So
I do want to publish that story, but I've been putting
sure.
it off like a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you moved your career to Disneyland. What did your folks say? I mean, here you moved from the circus to Disneyland. I mean, was that moving up the ladder a little bit? Was it? What did they think of Disneyland itself,
Well,
as far as culture and such?
all of the steps leading up to me um, gaining the job as Tinkerbell really was Ringling Brothers, me going to Circus in Las Vegas, looking for a job there, and from there being hired in Reno to fly on the trapeze for a couple of years with an act.
Uh
And
huh.
when I left Reno, I was there from 1979 to 1981. When I came home, um, I actually ended up traveling. I went to Japan with a circus,
That's right.
and that was Judy Kay's husband's circus.
Wow.
And
Okay.
Judy Kay was Tinkerbell
Hmm.
for many years. And so I had it already planted in my mind that that was something I wanted to do. So when I came back from Japan in the late 1981, early 82, I went to the park and I inquired if they were going to put Tinkerbell back,
Mm-hmm.
not expecting to really have anything happen, but went to Card Corner. At the time, it was Card Corner for the information booth. And I said, when are they going to put Tinkerbell back? Because Judy Kay's husband told me there was a possibility that Tinkerbell would start flying again. So they said, well, they're actually going to put her back in 1983, in June of 1983. And I believe they're looking for people now. So, of
Perfect.
course, I got on the phone and I find out that they're accepting applications and photos. And I had a book full of photos of me performing in the circus and, various trapeze. And so I got a call back to
Wow. Do you
do it.
know how many girls actually tried out for that role?
I think they said there was at least 300.
Wow. Wow.
I'm
What was
unsure, but I'm pretty sure. I don't think a lot of people knew about it. I don't know if they ended up because you have to follow a procurement policy. I don't
Mm,
remember if they advertised for it. I'm sure they had to. And that's a really good question, because I'd like to find out.
yes.
And
Yes.
I don't know if you guys know Nathan Eek. He's on LinkedIn.
Yes.
And yes, okay. So Nathan might know because him and Stan are good buddies. He helped
Okay.
him. He helped him with his memoir. And so maybe I could find out if they did. Now, that could have been a rumor of 300 girls.
Yes.
Um,
But I wouldn't be surprised. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah.
chance of a lifetime, right?
Yeah. How many
well,
times how
yeah.
many times did they call you in? So once you applied, when you first got that call that you were being considered, how many interviews or how many times did you have to continually talk to people before, you knew it was getting closer and closer?
So I received the call that they were interested in interviewing me in person, and that was so exciting. I went down to the park. At the time, I wasn't married yet, but I went there with my soon to be husband because he was a flyer. He was a
Ah,
catcher on the trapeze and knew a lot about rigging. So I took him with me and I did the interview with Stan. There's a really funny part in his book that talks about how I was showing off my figure, and I had to debunk it because first of all, I was really shy. So when I was told to bring a pair of leotard and tights for the interview because they wanted to check out my stature for
mhm.
Tinkerbell, I brought it. I didn't wear it.
Ah,
But at one point in the interview, he said, well, we do really need to see if you have the kind of stature we're seeking. So I remember going into a closed door room and changing into my tights and my leotard. And I was really tiny. I was about 112 pounds.
wow.
So, and I put this long sweater that I brought with me over me because I was really embarrassed about it. But he has it in his book and he wrote it in a way that made no sense.
Huh.
So I rebuked it and I actually put that on my website because I was
Okay.
so embarrassed about the way he wrote it.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
I'll go
I
back and check that out.
I sent it over to Nathan because I was so upset when I read it in his book because he put me in his book.
Yes.
So yeah, what happened was I changed and my future husband Richard Rock was there. Um and I still can even remember it to this day. Stands behind this huge desk and my future husband was sitting on a couch and I come in and I'm not ready to like show anything. So I kind of waited and I said, okay, I've changed into these leotard and tights. And he said, okay, go ahead. So I didn't take the sweater off. I basically opened the sweater and he could see that I was really tiny. I had this really small waist. And literally I think it lasted not longer than 2 minutes. To me it felt like an hour. But and I was really embarrassed,
Hmm.
so I remember saying, okay, is this what you need? And he said yeah, and I closed the sweater and I went back and I changed. So he wrote it a different way, so that was kind of painful, so
Huh.
I had to do something about that. So
Interesting.
yeah, that's how that happened. And then I brought my portfolio with me, which is about 2.5 inches thick, and it had all kinds of pictures from Ringling Brothers and Circus, and you can see all the photos on my website.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of those
Those are
photos
great.
were what I gave Stan.
Wow.
Okay.
But the interesting part is, so I go home, and of course, I don't have any clue how that thing went. I mean, I don't know. All I know is I drove them crazy at the talent resource center. I kept all like first I waited like a week or two, and then I called, and they said we don't know yet, and that and then I did it again, and I come to find out later when they finally called me after 2.5 months.
2.5 months.
Yeah,
Wow.
about
Wow.
about 2 months because they had. Now I'm part of Homeland Security right now, so I kind of understand it. They were running a background check
Okay.
on me, so I didn't know that. I mean, it took them a while to like make sure I was who I was, and I owned a home, and I think I'm not sure I was married at the time, but they did a thorough background check. So that's what took so long. And then I found
Wow.
they had been dying to tell me that I was already chosen,
Oh,
but they couldn't. So
yes. They had to wait for the background check to come
I
through.
had to wait. So and talk about elation. It was
Yeah.
pure elation. I
A-
was in disbelief.
And you got the notice over the phone, or did they bring you in?
No, they called me and they said, you know, we just want you to know that we have chosen you.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I almost started crying. I mean, maybe I was. I don't remember, but I
Wow.
was really excited, and
And
I
that
could,
was, I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, and then they told me I needed to come in. And
Okay.
yeah.
And then so from when you got that phone call that you got the position, when did you start? When
So
did
I
you start
believe
rehearsals?
so this was I believe it was around January when the phone call came in, and I wasn't to start until the summer season, which started when school got out in 1983. It was like June 4th or 5th.
Yes.
So I believe I went in and did all the paperwork, and then they wanted they did the whole measurement, and this is we're getting your costume ready. And so I did not. And then of course I had to rehearse.
Yes.
So sometime around May, I remember going up to the top of the Matterhorn, and believe me, it was really scary to go to the top of the Matterhorn.
That's what, 100,
And
158 feet, right?
it was something like 160, between
Okay.
155 and 160 feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
I've
see
been up there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was in the day, and so it's you've been up there,
Oh
right?
yeah. The view is amazing. I mean, you can see on a clear day, you can see the Hollywood sign in the daytime. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Wow.
It's amazing.
it was something. So I'm up there, and of course I already had experience as an aerialist, but no matter what, 160 feet is 160
Little
feet.
little higher than usual, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little more than normal.
Yeah, and of course I have to count on the trolley and the guidelines and everything else that's on me. So yeah, I went up there with leotards and tights to rehearse, and the crew went up there with me, and they had been running sandbags um, different at different weights. So they were sending sandbags down on the trolley somewhere between 115 and 125 pounds.
Okay.
So they were doing that first before I even tried it,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
just to see, what would happen at the other end, with the guys that had to catch it. So that was calibrating the trolley. Basically, they took the weather readings, and of course they had to take the wind and factor in all of the headwinds and tailwinds and
Sure.
everything else.
Wow.
So
Did
I'm sorry.
when
Go
you
ahead,
were
Ben.
when you were up there your first time and you're looking, are you having any doubts about what doing this? Is there Is there a moment where you're like, I don't know if I can do this?
No, there was never a doubt that I was going to
Oh,
do it,
Oh,
but what there was a very healthy fear.
okay.
yeah,
This, I had already been flying trapeze and trying tricks that I wasn't ready to learn and going for stuff that I thought I could never do. So
Wow.
yeah,
I was already in that mindset that even no matter how healthy scared I was, this is just part of it.
yeah.
So, yeah. So I was healthy scared. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
I know of what you speak. I used to go skydiving when I was younger, and the very first time I'll never forget it. You're looking out the plane and you're thinking, this is a little high. This is a little above my comfort zone, but
And you're
you
not
just kind of go,
tethered.
all right, I'm gonna leap. I'm gonna leap. So I mean, your very first time, your very first test. How did that go? What was going through your mind?
So on the very first test, they're getting ready to let me go, and I kind of did like a little prayer, like just close my eyes for a minute and just focused on relaxing more than anything. And they said, well, don't worry about being balletic or, trying to do anything. Just kind of hang there and get the feel for it. Well, that wasn't going to happen because ballet was every inch of me, right? So when they let me go, I remember straightening my legs and pointing my toes.
Ah,
And I did know, because I was an aerialist for so long, I did turn before I hit the mat.
ah,
Ooh,
Yeah, I had that instinct to go ahead
presence
okay.
of
and turn.
mind.
Yeah,
Presence of mind. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
So you would come to impact with the catching mat with your hip then? You would go sideways?
Well, what I would do is just turn my shoulder so
Ah,
that I was going to land, yes, into my shoulder and not,
okay.
of course, on my back. Now,
Yes.
over the years, there was craziness happening with different wind readings, and
Ah,
one time I had a wand that literally weighed between 15 and 20 pounds.
holy smokes.
And every time I lifted that sucker up, it would turn me.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it was this crazy looking. What it reminded me of is a Statue of Liberty wand with lights on it.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. And that
Wow.
thing just would flip me around. And I had to just go with it because, I told the wardrobe department, I said, come on. This is crazy, right? And I was working out at the gym a lot. So
Yes.
I would make sure that I lifted even more weights with my right arm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So and
Wow.
over the years the wands changed. Like one time I had a Darth Vader wand.
Oh,
Like, what? Yeah, I had a lightsaber. So
Oh my gosh. Did
now
did your costumes change? Did everything, like all these
everything
different
changed.
things, everything changed? Were they
Everything
constantly
kept changing.
evolving?
Yeah. Everything
Okay.
kept changing. Yeah.
Wow.
so
Yeah, yeah, and I wish, when I talked to Nathan, I said, Nathan, can you get a hold of the archives and try to get some of these photos of all these costumes? I mean, what I wouldn't give to have that on my website. All
yeah.
Yeah.
these different various, if you guys can do something, just go for it. Just try to find somebody that knows where these things are. I mean,
Okay.
it'd be hard for me to believe that they just disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got to be
It,
documented someplace.
it
Yeah.
has to be.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Interesting.
You
Interesting.
never kept any of your costumes? You never were allowed to take one home?
No, no, we were never ever allowed to take anything. What they did give me is, you see the little pink leotard?
Oh.
Yes.
They let me have one of those. They let me have my shoes,
Oh, well, that's fun.
but
Yeah.
that's it.
because those shoes lit up, right? The pom poms on the toes, right?
Well, they didn't give me the pom poms, so they let me have the fake pom poms
Oh,
that were made out of cloth, but I was not allowed to have the ones that lit up.
oh, that's kind of a shame.
Well, it's important. Look, it's Disney.
Proprietary.
They didn't want me, you know, showing that. I don't blame them. I
Yeah.
Yeah.
understand.
Were
But
you
yeah,
did
I
they
want to
did
have
they use
pictures of
you?
it.
Did they use you in any of the parades as well? Were you
Oh
would you
God, no.
no.
It was so funny because I'm in Stan's office, and one of the questions I had to him was because at Ringling Brothers, I was in a featured act. I was very fortunate to get into one, but mostly I did a lot of showgirl stuff and I rode elephants.
Mm,
Mhm.
And I had to do 5 numbers.
mm.
And so I looked at Stan at some point and I said, Stan, so what's involved with this job? And he said, well, basically, what you're going to do is you're just going to fly. And I said, so I don't have to do parades or I don't have to do anything. And he goes, no, you're going to just basically come to the park, put your costume on, fly down the wire, and you're going home.
But they paid you for a half day's work, right?
Right. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That was the
it,
minimum.
right. And I had to negotiate my own contract. Now, I had
Oh.
already been a talent agent. I'd started to be a talent agent. Well, actually, officially 1986, but I was pretty good at negotiating it and
Oh,
trying to get
that's
what I.
good.
The problem was I was part of AGVA, which was
Ah,
a variety union.
yes.
I had to join them at Ringling Brothers, and Disney had that, and I had to fight with the union all the time
Oh.
about the rate.
Oh.
But
Huh.
yeah, I was the one who had to every year go in there and see what I could do with it.
Okay, so you were fighting the union and not the park.
Well, it was kind of both. It's
Okay.
like, why are you guys not standing up for me,
Yeah.
with these increases? Now, luckily, when I did start my talent agency, it was a variety talent agency. They found out about it, and I got a call back in 1989 from a gentleman. I can't remember. His name was John. I can't remember his last name. He called me and he said, I understand you have a variety talent agency. And I said, yes, I do. And he said, well, why are you not booking talent for the park? And
Hmm.
I said, well, I didn't know. And he said,
Interesting.
yeah. So he said, well, we book all kinds of variety talent. We're interested in talking to you. So I ended up booking variety talent for Indiana Jones for the opening.
Ah,
I
Wow.
had still walkers and fire eaters and globe walkers and sword swallowers, and it was a media event.
yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and then Queen Mary, when they
Oh,
Queen Mary for 2 years, I was booking all the variety talent for that.
interesting.
Yeah.
How many people
Interesting.
did you have in your employ?
Well, what I did decide to do is I didn't want to be a manager. I let everybody be an independent contractor. I called them when I needed them.
Oh,
Okay.
So when I had a special event, now some of the special events were pretty large. So the event I did for Aladdin, for Robin Williams' second Aladdin,
yeah.
I booked something like 60 people,
Oh,
and well, I ended up with 30, but 30 variety acts. So
Oh,
yeah, and then I booked some people for television for that. So yeah, I mean, where I'm going with this is I wasn't just working as Tinkerbell. I
yeah.
yeah.
was an independent contractor for booking talent as well.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So,
would you come in for an 8-hour day then because you were
No,
doing the talent? It was
no,
just as
actually
needed.
not. I work from home.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Hmm.
So as needed, and then
Yeah.
you just build the company.
Right, and I'm going to mention her name because she was so wonderful. I was working with Emily Reed.
Emily Reed.
Emily Reed was Stan Freeze's right hand,
Oh, okay.
and she booked a lot of the talent, and she's the one that would call me and let me know what kind of variety acts they needed. And she was so wonderful.
Oh, that's great.
She was involved with the Tinkerbell show as well, but yeah, she was the one who would call me. And so, yeah, I mean, the whole experience was amazing. I mean, I look back now because I've, been in a whole different world for so long, for 19 years now, that I look back and I'm still talking to people like you guys talking about it on podcasts,
Oh,
which is
sure.
amazing, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
it
it's fun. It's part of our history. I mean, Matt worked there. I as many times as I've been there to Disneyland with my daughters, and I mean, we saw you, and that's part of our history. We all know you, but we didn't know you, So this is a chance to find out behind the story of it. So it's incredible for us, and
I
and
and I
Matt,
was
go
I
ahead.
was backstage, and I actually saw you multiple times being captured into the mattress multiple times. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a little audience down there. It was funny because they used to, apparently, they were taking bets, like how fast I would come in or if I would make it or not. And of course, I got stuck out there one time,
Oh, no.
25 feet out.
Oh, no. For how
Yeah.
long?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny because the people in wardrobe, they thought they were really cute. They had a little clothesline wrapped up on the side of my hip in this little packet.
Uh-huh.
They,
Hmm.
yeah, just if you get stuck, just take this thing out and just throw it. And I'm like, baseball player. The chance of me being able to throw this to the crew is very minimal.
Yeah.
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 And
You've got
then
this costume, and then you're hanging, and then you've gotta throw this thing. Yeah, that doesn't sound easy.
and then another time they gave the crew, I think it was a pool hook.
Oh, yes.
So so that I was only like 10 feet out, they could
Okay.
basically give it to me. Well,
Yes.
I finally figured it out. This is what I did. I did my aerial thing. I basically bounced the wire and I grabbed the wire above
Oh,
and I would point my toes so I could be balletic and stay in Tinkerbell form. And I would just pull myself in.
wow. So, that's interesting. So you could actually I didn't realize you were close enough to be able to grab the cabling.
Well, it's not that I was close enough. I had to manipulate it to get up there.
Ah,
The
okay.
thing is, Patty Rock, who was my sub, my sister in law, she was very short. So
Oh,
she
okay.
did, it too, but she had to bounce a lot harder to grab the wire. Yeah. So I had a bit of an
Wow.
advantage at the time, but
Wow.
yeah. But
But you figured it out.
I wasn't gonna stay out there. That wasn't happening.
That wasn't an option.
Yeah.
Get me in.
Yeah. How many total performances in your career as Tinkerbell?
Well, what was interesting is when I first started, I always started in June, and then I would stop when school. So when school let out, I would start in early June, and then when school's going back, I would stop right around September 5th to the 9th. And that went on for about 7 or 8 years, and then they decided that Tinkerbell needed to fly more often.
Ah,
So then they
interesting.
started me on weekends in April and May,
Wow.
and then it backed up all the way to January.
Oh, wow.
They
Okay.
just kept backing it up.
Yeah.
And so instead of being a seasonal casual, they finally had ended up making us full time employees. But until then, yeah, it was just those summers. Now, I did it the first 2 summers, I had no backup.
Okay.
But then they came to me and they said, look, what if something happens and we don't have a Tinkerbell? Do you have somebody you can recommend? So at the time, I had married Richard Rock, and his brother, who flew on the trapeze, he was the flyer who did the triples. And Richard,
Oh,
my ex, caught him on the trapeze, and his wife, Patty, was a flyer.
Oh,
okay.
So I chose her, and she went in, and they hired her, and she became my backup.
Okay. So she would only fly if you were ill or whatever the case may be, that you
Well,
couldn't fly.
actually, I actually didn't really let her fly for quite a while, because I was afraid, because I felt so fortunate I had it. But what I realized is that 90 days of summer is a long time. So
Sure.
they started having her fly once a week.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, um, I don't know how much of this I could really state, but it still was painful.
Ah.
When I divorced Richard in 1994, they gave her half my time.
Oh.
Yeah, I
Oh.
was in a lot of pain about it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But it was what it was. I felt I was taken advantage of. And
Oh, that's too bad.
I've
yeah.
never really stated this before, and you can take it out if you want. I might even want you to. But
Okay.
yeah, it was painful. I mean, the job was really, really important to me, and to lose half
Sure.
my time was very difficult. It was a hard divorce, and that
Mm,
didn't help. So, so that's when she started working half the time.
okay. Um,
Were injuries part of the job? I mean, was that something that you were living with? We were talking about this, Matt and I. I mean, I'm sure you were bruised up and a little battered, but were there ever any serious injuries or injuries that you're feeling now at all?
No, not at all. I mean, one time I was climbing up the ladder inside the Matterhorn before I got up to the hatch, and I broke my toe.
oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
I had accidentally hit it really hard
Ooh.
I don't remember what, but yeah, I broke my toe, which had nothing
Wow.
to do with Tinkerbell.
Oh,
Um,
oh,
wow.
there was one time when I went up to the Matterhorn. It was in the summer in August. It was really hot, and the wire has grease in it,
yeah.
and so it would expand in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
And I went up there because I noticed when I got into the park that it was dipping like
Oh.
a lot. I mean,
Huh.
huge dip in the wire. So I got a hold of the crew and I said, look, there's something wrong. We need to go up to the Matterhorn and let me take a look at it. And they did allow me as a professional aerialist to have my input.
Yeah.
Yes. Good.
Because if it wasn't safe, I didn't have to fly.
Yes.
So that was one of the times I went up there and I actually asked them to bring an engineer. And there
Oh,
were a couple engineers up there, and I had been dealing and been around rigging for many, many years because of being in circus. And
sure.
Yeah.
I looked at the engineers and I said, I cannot fly. The dip is going to take me underneath the landing. I'm not going to land
Mm.
on the landing, I'm going to land under it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get hurt. So I'm not going to fly. But what I think you guys need to do is put some counterweights on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
so they did. They ended up, I guess they spent the next 2 days during the day. They made it taut again. They
Hmm.
pulled it really
Interesting.
tight. But then once they put those counterweights on there, it never happened again.
Oh, so
Yeah.
it was just the one time, and you noticed it coming in to work.
Oh yeah, there was no way I could fly. And then once I got up there and saw that dip, I mean, there's just no way I would have been able to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what year, I was going to look this up and I didn't get a chance to, but what year did they actually introduce the trolley system where it wasn't just a straight down shot? Do you?
So in 2004, they came to both Patty and I believe, and they said, "Look, we've decided that we're gonna go and introduce technology into this show," which was about time, right? I mean, come
Yeah.
on. You know, everybody was doing these, technological shows, and we were way behind with Tink doing the straight shot. And I thought, wow, it's about time. And they gave me an option. They said, well, do you want to keep doing this? And I said, absolutely not. I
Ah,
said, I don't think anybody is going to hold the record that I have. I said, I'd been going to college. I just started going back to college in 2003.
okay.
And I wanted to head in another direction. So I gave it up and I hung up my wings.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when they went to the trolley system, then you never did go down on that system.
No, but I really wanted to try it.
Yeah. I'm sure out of curiosity, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because, I'm not in shape right now, but sometimes I get in fantastic shape. And if I was in really good shape, I would just love to have the honor to go back up there and do it again.
Oh, wouldn't that be something?
But from what I understand, they're not flying her right now.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know. Do you know Vince?
No,
They're not. They're
I
not.
don't know for sure. I've heard, but I don't know for sure. I mean, I've nothing concrete about it, so that's
And they
why.
No, there's another character that's doing it. I forget something.
well,
Something her. Something.
oh, yeah, and I know they started doing Dumbo early
Yeah.
on, and
Yeah.
then they've used so many different characters through the years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They threatened to put me up doing the rocket thing when the rocket movie came out.
Oh, Rocketeer?
Yeah, they
Rocketeer.
were threatening to put us in that.
Interesting.
Although I got to play a witch. That was a blast.
Oh,
Really?
really?
Yeah, for 2 years we got to wear a witch's costume and sit on the broom down the wire. It was
Oh,
awesome.
wow. Oh, that's crazy.
And I have no pictures of it.
Oh,
I was going to
no.
ask you. You don't have any pictures of it? Archives has got to have pictures of it at least.
I just wish somebody would find these. I just wish someone. There's got
Somebody
to be
out
some.
there has got to have a video of you doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody
I
out
know.
there.
It only happened 2 summers in a row.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, with all the people that have seen you over the years, somebody has a video, somebody
Yes.
has something that, that you can have or you could use. I'm sure, there's no way.
Well, Josh was always when we put a blog up, he's always letting people know, the public know, if you have any photos at all, please send them in.
Oh, great.
And I don't know if you saw that video by Disney Dan,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
he put
That's
that
pretty good.
montage together, and I was so happy about that.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That
He's a
Yeah,
was.
funny guy.
he
Yeah.
did a really good job on that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. You
calling
could
me
tell.
Disco Tinkerbell and
Yes. Wh- and I was thinking the same thing. And then when I was looking at the photographs and then I saw his blog about the Flintstones, you looked like one
Yeah.
of the Flintstones
yeah,
with those giant mirrors
yeah.
Yeah.
on your costume. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Do you still do the talent agency? Do you still book talent for Disneyland?
No, that happened until almost 2000. and then they decided to bring it back in house.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I continued to book talent until 2009. The last thing I booked was Boys to Men and an opening act at the Canyon Club in the Valley.
Valley.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then my career started in disaster recovery. It had started in
Right.
2005.
Wow.
I
Quite
took
a
off.
change. Quite a
Yes.
change.
Yeah, yeah. I think the whole, with my dad being the engineer, I
Yes.
think
Hmm.
was some genetics sitting in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I never thought that I was, because I was so athletic. I don't think I always doubted my brain.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
that's
as
not
soon as I
good.
went to school, I found out I had one underneath all that blonde hair. Right? I found out I had. So
Oh,
Oh
and
my
just to let
goodness.
people know, you're actually a brunette. Yeah.
yeah, right, exactly. I still am to this day. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I
Do you
I
miss it? Do you miss what you did?
Oh, come on. Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot of strength. I think the last time I got in really, really good shape, I had been a personal trainer
ah,
for many years. I got my license, and I had trained an ice skater who had won a bronze medal, but then fell in a trick, and
ah,
I was training her in 2000, and I got in incredible shape.
wow.
And then the time after that was about 2016. Um, I actually have written a very funny book that I have not published yet.
Oh,
I wrote a book about fat cells and I made cartoons with them. And it's kind of a visual program for people to use instead of just telling people exactly what they should do, eat and not eat. It's just basically a visual program that's sensible and reasonable and logical. And you can use these funny characters to think about fat cells and what they do when you feed them the wrong things.
Yeah.
interesting. Are
And
you going to publish this book?
well, unfortunately, and I'll put this out to the universe, I have not found the right editor.
Ah,
And I have three books. So if you go onto my website, I have my disaster art therapy book that I
yes.
made for children during storms. And
Hmm.
then I have the comedy diet book. And then I have the memoir. And both of those books that are not published each have at least 140 to 150 pages already written.
Okay.
Wow.
But I haven't found the right editor.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So one editor needs to be somebody who knows a lot about biology,
Okay.
and the other editor has to be somebody who would have a whole lot of fun talking about my absolutely insane journey to Tinkerbell. So
And would understand that. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
it's not
Well,
that I don't want to. I
right.
just haven't found them yet.
Found the right person.
Yeah.
Yep. And you want to
You'll
do it
find them.
right. I get
Yeah.
it.
You'll find them. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to actually find a publishing company that would be really interested in the story
And
because
then
Yeah.
find the right people.
there is a huge story there from the time I was little. And we didn't talk about this, but when I was younger and my brother got me into gymnastics, I started doing cartwheels and handstands and all kinds of crazy stuff in the house at the age of 7.
Oh,
And
really?
it started way back. I mean, I even had dreams about lions and tigers at night. I would have these crazy premonition dreams.
Huh.
And it started at a very early age. And I remember even being 11 and wondering what an aerialist did.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So it did kind of start early, and then
Yeah.
it just the right people dropped into your life, and boom, there you were.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There was Bob Yerkes. I'm barely
Yes.
17 years old, and he walks into my high school and saw me tumbling for my gymnastic team and walked right up to me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in learning circus?"
Wow.
And he lived up the
Coincidence.
street from me. I mean, literally, I'd take my
Okay.
bike up there. He was less than a half a mile from where I was raised. And
Wow.
I
What,
just started training over there.
what were the odds of that being so
Yeah,
close to you?
it was
Well,
meant to
I
be.
think,
Meant to be.
yeah, meant to be.
Yeah.
And that's the San Fernando Valley is where you grew up and where Bob lived.
Yeah, I was a valley girl.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Me too.
So on Roscoe and White Oak, if you drove down Roscoe and White Oak,
Okay. Yeah,
you would see the trapeze in his backyard.
okay. Well, we grew up not too far away from each other then. I'm up in Shadow Hills where my
Oh,
mom, yeah, where I grew up.
Wow.
Um, I have a question for you. So I had heard a story while I was down at the park about Bob Castle, and you knew Bob Castle, correct?
he
In
was,
entertainment,
yeah, I think he was an ice skater.
and he was an ice skater.
Yeah,
And I understood because he was an ice skater, because of his size, and because he was an ice skater with good balance, that they approached him to play Baby New Year.
right.
So I did read just recently that he did it 2 times. I had only heard the one story of him doing it the first time.
I heard he did it once and he was terrified.
Yes. Yes, and the hilarious story of him getting up there and he never did a practice run,
Right.
the way
Oh
I
my
was told,
gosh.
and they hooked him up, and he decided he didn't wanna do it, and he's saying, "Unhook me, I'm not doing this." And they're making phone calls up there, and
No,
they said, "No,
they
Bob
pushed
signed a
him up.
contract to do this. You hook him up. He's going. Countdown." But
Yeah.
did Bob ever tell you the story?
Well, Bob didn't tell me the story. I actually learned about the story from another podcast.
Okay. Okay. So not
So,
even from the
yeah,
Tink crew or anybody in entertainment. You never heard it.
not not really.
Okay.
No, we talked a lot about Judy Kay, but we didn't talk about Bob.
Okay.
I had known about Bob. At one time I was working with magicians,
Oh, okay,
and
right.
I was working with Dirk Arthur, who had ostriches, and
Okay.
he was going to do a show for Peggy Fleming.
Oh wow.
Ah,
And I went there on the ice because I was going to have to be on the ice in order to do this show. And I remember them, I thought I remember them talking about him at that
okay.
point. But yeah, I heard he did it once and he was terrified and never again.
Well, I heard that after they said, "Bob, you're doing it. You signed the contract, you're doing it." They did the countdown and they pushed him off, but he was flailing at the
Right.
time,
Yeah.
which is not good for balance. So
No.
I heard he started spinning and he was cursing all the way down with the spotlights on him.
Right.
And I heard that City Hall ended up getting quite a few people going in wondering, "What was this flying, cursing baby over the castle? We don't get it. What was that?"
Well, I don't believe he did it twice. I think he did it.
Yeah, okay. I heard it was only once, but,
Oh my
I
goodness.
I met Bob once backstage, and I didn't even think about asking him to tell me the story, but, I did hear it from some of the other entertainment people, and it was hilarious.
Oh my
Well,
goodness.
the beauty of my job was that, I mean, the hardest part of my job was trying to get to the park.
Mm.
So I lived 68 miles away. So in
Oh,
1993, that was easy. It was 55 minutes. By the
yes.
time I stopped in late 2004, 2005, it took 2.5 hours.
Yes.
Wow.
So really, my job, my mom figured it out. I worked 12 minutes a year.
Wa-
You know,
Wow.
if I had lived in Anaheim, I literally could have showed up in the dressing room at 8:30, gone, put my costume on, and gone home and worked an hour.
Yeah.
Um,
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't. And where I'm leading with this is that I didn't really get to know anyone. I was
So
just in
quick.
and out. I did
Yeah.
have one scary thing happen. I had a stalker. There was,
Oh
when
no.
people would come backstage, they would, want to talk, or, I was always really nice and talk to people. Um, so there was this one employee that kept coming up, and I didn't really notice it till he showed up like the third time. But he would talk to me, and I was nice to him, and that was it. But then one day he was waiting for me out in the parking lot,
Oh
oh,
no.
and that started happening often. Then they gave me a security guard to walk me in.
Wow.
Yeah, he ended up getting fired.
Well, I
I
would
was
hope
gonna say,
so.
as a Disney employee, yeah. I mean,
I would hope so.
Well,
yeah.
plus he was sending me things in the mail, like
Oh
it did
no.
for me.
Oh no.
Yeah, and that's not a good way to end this. So ask me another question.
I was gonna
Let's talk
say,
about something else. Yeah.
Well,
I was gonna ask you, did you get a pass? Did they give you a lifetime pass to be able to go to
No,
Disneyland?
absolutely not.
Okay.
did
And
you retire though?
well, I retired, yeah, when they were going to change the show into the new technology.
Okay. But
But the disappointment, and I hope somebody hears this, I've always wanted one of those beautiful statues of Tinkerbell.
oh,
Get them unless you worked there 25 years.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
So
yeah.
I missed the boat.
Oh,
4 years.
Yes, I met the guy who made those. My
Wow.
my sub Patty Rock, she knew the guy that did it. But yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed I don't have one.
oh.
Yep.
We're gonna have to do something about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see if we can find somebody that has one, or
I
yeah,
want
that would be a
to
lot of fun.
well,
Or I just need to sculpt one for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
there.
That's actually my background is sculpting. So
Oh,
maybe
there.
I need to sculpt you one. A one of a kind. How's that?
Yeah. There you go.
Yes, but look, the memories. You can't really, the memories for me. Everything surrounding my life has always been, number one, I'm raised not just with a mom who loved the arts, but my mom brought me into the world of charity and giving.
Ah,
Yeah.
So
good.
I was a candy striper. I worked on hotlines. My mom took me to the homeless shelters to feed people, and this was part of me, which is
Yeah.
why I got into disaster recovery.
Yeah, yeah,
Because really, that's who I was, and I still am.
sure.
So I can talk about it now. I just finished 1 year. In August will be 1 year. I went to the Lahaina fires in Hawaii,
Oh
Oh,
wow.
wow.
and I was on island for 10.5 months. And
Wow.
what a privilege to work with these folks that lost huge infrastructure. They
Sure.
lost everything. I'm working with a company that lost all their artifacts, their museum.
Mm,
I'm
mm.
working with people that had temples and churches, and what a privilege to work in the disaster recovery world. It is, it's my life. I
It's
love it.
Yeah,
rewarding. It's probably very rewarding.
Yeah, it is. And it's all about, and Tinkerbell was all about kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
this day I still sign autographs, and when they pay for it, I send the money to Make a Wish Foundation.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's sweet.
nice.
That's
Yeah.
Nice.
sweet.
So
You're
you
still
know,
giving. You're still
yeah,
giving
it,
to the kids.
it's a privilege to
Yeah.
have had the job and just really the message is if you're a child and you're 9, you're 11, you become 12 and 13, and you have dreams to do something really wonderful and big, then do it. Then go
Yeah.
for it. Because
Yeah.
that's what I did.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
You got to live your dream.
yeah, you really do. It's really important to chase your dream.
Yeah.
Sure. Sure. Well, you brought a lot of enjoyment to a lot of people,
You
even if
did.
it was only for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it's breathtaking. I was even watching one of the videos, old videos, and the children's faces to see them light up when
Yeah.
Tinkerbell takes off,
Yeah.
from the Matterhorn.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
priceless.
It was special every single time I did it. There was not a day that went by that I flew that it was
Yes,
special.
Yeah.
Every
that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Gina, it's been an amazing hour. Thank you so much for your time. We are truly grateful. Everybody, if you get a chance, go check it out. FlyingTinkerbell.org. Am I correct with that, Gina? FlyingTinkerbell.org?
Yes, that is correct. And
Okay.
if we could stay on after the recording stops, that's
Yes,
wonderful.
yes,
Yeah,
we will do
absolutely.
that.
Thank-
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing all of these experiences and thoughts, and we, we enjoyed it, and I'm sure everybody else has too.
Yeah.
What a great
Thank you so
legacy.
much. We
And
appreciate your time, Gina.
so much for inviting me. I mean, how special. It's
Mm.
still special. Thank you so much.
Oh, good.
Thank you much, everybody. All right, we will see you next Sunday. We will be with El Capitan's Rob Richards. All right, everybody. See you soon. Take care. Have an amazing Sunday and an amazing week. Bye, everybody.
Thank
Bye.